And when you see that happen, you just want to, your hope and dream is that everyone can do this. Because the world would be a better place if everyone did this. Hey, Nick.
Mr. Scott. Hello. How are you?
I'm good, man. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's 2026. We made it. Here we are.
Bananas. As we're starting the new year, it's always that time when people reflect on life and how are they doing and what changes do they want to make. And I don't know about you, but I personally feel like oftentimes when I come to that time of the year and I'm feeling like if it's for me, if I do it, maybe other folks do it too. It's like you kind of look at like the tactics you're looking at in life and you're like, well, what's the one or two things I'm going to change, right? So that's when we see everyone runs to the gym, or, everyone cuts out sugar for a month or stops drinking for a month or whatever it is. But they look at the tactics to help them live a better life. And I think we could take a little, a different view on this and really look at this from a different lens to really allow ourselves to think about how we want our life to be. And then we can look at the tactics.
I like that. Yeah, going into 2026, January is always such a good month for that. My family, we take the last week of the year to get really pensive, just to look at what worked, what didn't, explore the why, and then carry forward that into the future, into that next year, saying, what are we going to do different? But it's also when we could look back at that. We've talked about it before. Sometimes the ladder's leaning up against the wrong wall, and you're like, I don't even know if that was even a goal of mine. Why did I want that? And so 2026, you get to have a blank canvas and you get to evaluate what is working, what didn't, and how, as we look at not just waistlines and 401k balances and all those different things. Yes, I'm going to be going to the gym starting out this year again after too many good meals around the holidays. But, when I look at our financial plan, it's so encompassing. And I look at what are the things that can bring me joy, purpose, fulfillment? How do I start with this blank canvas to really be the archetype for going into the next year?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. And a couple of things you mentioned there that really stood out to me. One was ask yourself, kind of hone in on the why of what's the purpose for all of this. Yeah. That's something that I feel many of us often don't do.
Mm-hmm.
I ran across, I don't know how I ran across this analogy, but I saw it. I don't know where I saw it. Maybe I just thought of it in my head. I don't recall, but back in the day when I was a kid, and in college, actually, iPods were just coming out. So we weren't running our DJs sessions off of iPods yet. We were basically had old CDs or CDs that we made our own burned CDs, and then we would put them in like a 6-disc CD changer. Right?
Shout out.
Like, but I kind of think about like life for all of us is like how we choose to invest not only our money, but also our time, our energy, and our talent. And it's like, those are really the 4 resources that each of us have that are kind of interchangeable.
Mm-hmm.
And it ultimately comes the question of like, hey, for your life now, there's all these playlists on all these old CDs. It's like, and this is the life that you choose to live. And the question is it really the life that you want?
Yeah, I think I like to ask, like, is it working? Right?
Mm-hmm.
How many times have we kind of just like shuffled our feet and been like, well, that's the way it is. Well, no, that's a way. And so this is a good opportunity to step back and say, like, is it working? Like, you have agency over that. And so now with this blank canvas, we get to design it.
Absolutely. So like, I know the work that you and I do at our firms, what we do first, unless something is really urgent financially for a client, looking at the money side of things, we really want to take the time for an individual and for couples. And couples are just 2 individuals who choose to walk through life together.
Mm-hmm.
So they shouldn't have the exact same goals in life. They probably have slightly different goals,
Yep.
Right? I think about you and your wife and the sports that you partake in. You don't share the exact same passions, right?
She does not own a set of golf clubs, and I will probably never, even though this is being recorded, run a marathon. We'll see. But very different goals.
Now that it's recorded, you have to do it. But But the point is that the question is ultimately like, what are the things, the essential elements that need to be in your life so that you feel like you're really truly flourishing? If you design life that way and then you aim for that, life just becomes better. We usually end up feeling like we're more, I think authenticity's played up a lot these days, but people in their true authentic selves are the people who show up and optimize their time, money, energy, and talent for the life that they want, not the life that society tells them or their parents tell them or their boss tells them, but the life that they want to live.
It's actually on my to-do list right now. Maybe we'll link to it in the show notes, but the UC Berkeley put out a tremendous white paper on like wonder and productivity and play and enchantment. And one of the things the study found was that when you put that first as your goal and you build around that, you end up being more successful. You end up accomplishing all these things because you're a healthier, holistic being as a result. Instead of, let me just add this to it and let me measure myself externally by the things that I accomplish.
Totally. That reminds me of an advisor in our space. I remember hearing him on a podcast a year or two ago. And he was talking about the idea that like because for him to flourish, he loved to be a part of the other advisors across the country. So he ended up being on a national board and, for one of our big organizations and traveling all the time and traveling way more than he thought he should. But yet he realized after the fact that his business grew so much more during that year than in any other year because he was, in your sense, flourishing, right? And was showing up really alive.
Yeah. So I think that's the foundation that we have to start from. And what's interesting too is I want to say it doesn't have to make financial sense, but it doesn't need to be optimized. I think when we start to think of goals, it's like, okay, I'm going to max this out, or I'm going to save this much, or I'm going to get out of debt. And a lot of those things are important. But, in our own personal life, I'll speak to my wife and I, one of our goals this year is to make less money, but spend more time together.
Yes.
And so rather than having, the 60-hour work week, so like, hey, what if we just say no to that? We hit pause. We play a different game, and it's the game that works for us. But if we don't set that intention at the beginning of the year and continue to make sure we stay on track, like we're going to drift. We're going to work 60 hours like we always have. We'll optimize, but we're playing the wrong game. The ladder's leaning against the wrong wall. So we have to start there first to figure out what do we want.
No, you're nailing. Love that example, and similarly, and this is where I truly do feel for clients that you have time, money, energy, and talent to deploy, right? And so, like an example in our household is that my wife, after years of both of us working, she chose to step back from work, and she's being a stay-at-home mom right now because that's her passion. Yep. Now, monetarily, from an advisor standpoint, that's a horrible choice, right? But the point is that that's the choice of finance. The thing that I love about it is that it is art. It's not science. It's not just work 60 hours and go build up a bunch of cash so you can eventually retire. We only have a limited amount of time with our boys in our house. So I would much rather us work a little bit more after they're out of the house than work all the time, have our head down, let them be raised by someone else so that I don't get the opportunity to be with them. Now, that's our choice. There are other people who both parents working is exactly what they want because it's exactly the life they want to live. And there's nothing wrong with that either. The point is that everyone should get to choose their own path.
Right. And so as we think through this, what are some good prompt questions? I'm a big journaler. I love coming with a prompt and then really digging into it, having my coffee. Hopefully I can get, it's a little less these days, of course, 5 to 10, 15 minutes of uninterrupted quiet time. But I think you began to mention the first question. What other questions, as we guide people through this framework, would those be?
So there's 3 questions that we have our clients answer when we start working with them. And the 3 questions are by a friend of mine, George Kinder, wrote a book back in the early 90s for advisors, really looking at this idea of taking time, money, energy, and talent and making sure that people are really, really flourishing in the life that they want. And so the 3 questions allow yourself to suspend current life and belief and allow life, that 6-disc CD changer with the current playlist, just put it off to the side.
Yep.
And just answer this clean. right? And so the first question is, you wake up in the morning and you have more money than you need now and in the future. How would you choose to live your life? Don't hold back. Let yourself go. Like put all your dreams on paper. Nothing's crazy. What would it look like to you? That's the first question. So that's a fun one, right? Like there's literally no money constraint, which is the number one reason why people go like, I can't do that. I need money. Well, what if you didn't need money? What would life look like for you? Just go draw that. And it's always a fun one. The second question gets a little more touch more difficult, especially when you have little ones and loved ones who are dear to you. But the second question is, you go to your doctor, and the doctor sadly tells you that you have a terminal illness. So the bad news is you get between 5 and 10 years to live with no notice of the final day. The good news is you'll never feel sick for the time that remains. So you have somewhere between 5 and 10 years. So like for me, that means my oldest will either be 18 or 23 or somewhere in between when I pass away. And I have the time, money, energy, and talent that I possess right now. I don't have unlimited funds. And it's really about allow yourself to feel that shortness of time. And then ask yourself, how will you choose to live the time you have remaining? What will you do differently? Mm-hmm. That's a challenging one for me. And then the final one is even more of a gut punch, because then you go to your doctor and they simply tell you that time is up, Nick. You got some type of terminal illness and it's 2-term. So today's the last day. And it's not really, the question's not really about what will you do in your last day. We can come up with beautiful things to do in our last day, to say goodbye to loved ones and, do whatever we want to do. But it's really about, if you allow yourself to sit and realize that you don't get to be here tomorrow, and then ask yourself, what did I miss? What did I not get to do? Who did I not get to be? And sometimes we'll think like, oh, that kind of sounds like it might be about regrets. And it could be. But the opposite side of the coin of regrets is untapped potential. Mm-hmm. It's just like, what have I not stepped into yet that in my heart, like, man, I really want to step into that. And just allow yourself to feel those things. And it's very revealing what truly matters. When I've done that in the past with my on my own, it really clears a lot of clutter. And in those 6-disc CD changers, a lot of that playlist is erased, right? You realize things that don't matter to you nearly as much as other things do.
Yeah, what a great spot to be able to then go into the new year with that. It's going to take some time and intentionality, and being able to have that quiet space to, allotted to sit through each of those questions. And it's going to be heavy. Mm-hmm. But once you have that, then the path becomes clear.
Yeah. And for, there's a range of things that you see come out of this. For some people, they see, I really am content with the life that I already have. And there's really just these little tweaks that I want to make to help improve upon my life. And maybe that's improving their health or improving their finances or whatever it is. Could be maybe seeing family members more. And then on the other end of the spectrum, sometimes people are like, man, I really don't like the work that I'm doing. And it's time for me to go completely change direction and go do something completely different. And both are beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It could be a posture of regret. Oftentimes we do see that. But I remember hearing it once, and you touched on it just a moment ago, but it was like, what did the world miss out on? Who did you not get to be? And to your point, there could be a lot of people listening to this and, hey, I'm already living that life. And if you've done that, fantastic, continue on your path. But it's such a good awakening in a lot of ways, where it's like, is there that intentionality in our lives right now? And if not, how we wake up to reorient that. Right?
Yeah. Well, and I also think that, just from my own view of doing this work with clients for a number of years now, because I see it in my 7-year-old son is still at an age where possibilities are unlimited and no one shuts you down. And even the kids, when they're playing together, right, they're not telling each other, you can't do that. And it's like the world is their oyster. And then as we grow up, we go through this whole world where we have all these like little hoops and doors that we have to go through and have to behave like and have to be. And so ultimately the question is are we happy with where we are? And are we being true to who we truly are? Or do we want to allow ourselves to go a different direction? And this is, to me, it's all about permission granted, right? Like, let's help you find a way to live your best life. Because if you're doing that, we see the ripple effects that it has on people's lives. That's why I love this work. This work is about helping people hold up a mirror for them to see, who am I truly? Who do I want to be? And what's the next step I can take to get closer to that vision of myself?
Yes. Yeah.
And when you see people take those steps, you watch them be better parents, be better friends, be better spouses, because they're being a more authentic person.
No, they're living out of a place of alignment, right?
Yeah. Alignment's a wonderful word for it.
Yeah.
Wonderful word. And when you see that happen, you just want to, your hope and dream is that everyone can do this. Because the world would be a better place if everyone did this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, here's to 2026. Always great seeing you, my friend.
Likewise, Scott. Here's to it.